Well, let's get back to one of our top stories. The president this hour urging Congress to restore pay-as-you-go budget rules in a bid to restore fiscal responsibility in the nation's capital. Peter Cook standing by in Washington with more on this. Peter.
Well, Betty, one of the lawmakers backing the president's pay-go push is Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill, the Democrat, one of the president's closest allies in Congress. She joins us now from the White House, where she attended today's comments from the president. And Senator, thank you for the time. Appreciate you joining us here on Bloomberg. And you know, Republicans are already calling this a PR campaign. This is a president presiding over a budget deficit of almost $2 trillion this fiscal year, now pushing for pay-go rules his own administration skipped when it came to the stimulus. A little disingenuous?
Well, let me just say this. The president is calling for a law to instill pay-go. And if anyone thinks he's not serious about it, then they should maybe vote for the law. I'm hoping that in a bipartisan way, we realize that it's time for this fiscal discipline. The president has said today very clearly that not only does he support this law, that we must pay for what we spend with savings from somewhere else, that he has now put his stamp of approval on it. We don't need to worry about a veto. Let's get it passed.
Pay for things with savings somewhere else, or Republicans would say this is a green light. Pay-go rules give Democrats a green light to raise taxes.
Well, the key here is to have fiscal discipline. I don't think the president is clearly, he said during the campaign over and over and over again, no one's taxes that make less than $250,000 a year are going to be raised. He has not changed that pledge. He said during the campaign that maybe the very wealthy in America need to pay a little more. Clearly, that is not something that's been on the table during this retracted recession. But going forward, if we do not get our fiscal house in order, we will not be a strong nation among nations. And he understands that, and that's why he's pushing for this legislation. That's why many of us are supporting this legislation.
Obviously, a lot of Bloomberg viewers watching bond markets right now, those interest rates. Let me switch gears, if I could, ask you about the TARP repayments that the Treasury announced today. The president mentioned them as well at this event. Not everyone is convinced the government should let these banks pay this money back. What's your view?
Well, I think any time taxpayer money is going to be repaid, it's a good thing. I think that we should take this money back and realize, even though there will be losses going forward for the taxpayers, I'm sure, some losses, this initial payback we've gotten of $68 billion has included a profit for the taxpayers. So we're seeing some recovery, as you've been reporting on Bloomberg, from a variety of different sources. There is some recovery occurring. Our capital markets are stronger. Our credit markets are stronger. And I do think that we have probably bottomed out at this point. Now we've got to get our fiscal house in order to complete this picture for the next generation.
Let me just ask you finally, the White House, we're being told, could roll out executive pay rules as early as tomorrow, even for non-TARP recipients. Does it cross the line for the government to spell out pay in the financial sector and the private sector?
What we're struggling with here is where's the balance? You know, I had a friend of mine say, get the government's nose out of my business, and then he said to me, how did you let this happen? Finding that balance between regulation and not choking off our economy is what we're all trying to do. Clearly, our competitors have the jump on us when it comes to executive pay. Germany, Japan, other countries that we go toe-to-toe with in the global market, they do not have this excessive executive compensation. And if we want to compete globally, we've got to take a look at executive compensation, but we can't go so far that the government is calling the shots.
All right, Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri joining us from the White House. Senator, thanks for the time. Appreciate it very much. Betty, we'll send it back to you in New York.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Peter Cook in Washington.